This episode of We Are Libertarians is brought to you by Audible.com. Enjoy one free audiobook courtesy of We Are Libertarians. Choose from more than 100,000 audiobook titles, including works by Ron Paul, Walter Block, Murray Rothbard, and the Cato Institute. Audible.com also has audio of radio and TV programs and audio versions of magazines and newspapers. You can get the Audible app on any mobile device or download the audio to your computer. Go to audibletrial.com/WAL or head to WeareLibertarians.com and find the link to get one free month of Audible today. Welcome to We Are Libertarians for this week. I'm Chris Spangle. With us, as always, is Greg Lenz.
Hello, everyone.
And Creighton Harrington. Creighton, how many more weeks will you be joining us? It's like May 2nd?
Yep.
Assuming.
He's taking off his socks.
I like all
count.
these complex calculations. You're like Einstein with your schedule book there.
Carry the one, add the 14. Four shows. Four shows.
Is that called minimal effort? I don't know.
No, I'm interning out in D.C. over the summer, and I head out on
that's legitimate.
I head out on the 24th, so Thursday before that would be the 23rd.
You know, for an economics student, he doesn't keep very close watch.
He
over
really
scarce
doesn't know
resources.
how to count.
Economics in D.C. Isn't that like kind of two polarized concepts?
No.
Well, technically we're in Virginia, so it's okay.
Now, this voice that you're hearing, you may not know who it is, but that's okay because neither do I. This is Ethan.
Common.
What is your last name, Ethan?
Ethan Hatcher.
Ethan Hatcher, welcome. Creighton brought him. I met him like 5 minutes to air. So we're going to see how this goes.
Well, that's not true.
Got to sink or swim, kid.
We did go to Cocktails and Conversation together, as you will recall. So
yes.
There is some
He's
past introductions.
He's already forgotten about that story.
Back in, I was knee deep in a burrito. Okay, I was knee deep into some Qdoba, and
I was having an orgasmic queso experience.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm like
Qdoba.
one entree away from a free burrito. It's excellent. The rewards programs are great. So we met at Cocktails and Conversation, which I worked at WXNT here in Indianapolis. Rest in peace, WXNT.
Good for now.
We actually have a podcast that we launched just for people who like going back and listening to the glory days of 2007 and 2008 in local politics, WXNT's Ghost. So go look up on iTunes, and it's all the classic podcasts from 07 and 08 from here in Indianapolis. So I'm putting those out. So Cocktails and Conversation was an event where we would get together with listeners, Abdul and I and the people from the station, and mingle and chat. And we met a couple times, did you say?
Yeah, several times.
I, of course, am very important and do not remember you.
You wouldn't recognize me. I didn't have a beard at the time.
I know. I didn't either. It's coming in nice.
Wait a minute. You know what? I just
luxuriant.
noticed something. This is the first time he's ever recorded this not in a tie-dye shirt.
Yep.
My wardrobe is... quit taking a picture, Miah.
Yes.
Pain in the ass.
Yes.
She's going to ruin it.
Yep. Well, that's what she does. That's why she's our favorite social terrorist.
Yep.
Miah is also hanging out, but we're not letting her talk due to obscene amounts of fan mail on the website. Please never let her on again. It's a lie. It's kind of a lie.
Her and Gina brought up 9/11 trutherism.
Man.
God.
That is the kiss of death.
That is...
Gina evoked both love and hatred from the audience. So
Oy.
may you be so lucky, Ethan.
Well, it is a libertarian audience, so that would be the reaction elicited.
You do have those smooth pipes for radio.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's a talent I've developed over the years.
Yeah, I have not.
Steady listening to a Rush Limbaugh diet.
Is Nease coming?
All right. We also were inviting Mr. 4chan himself, James Nease. He's been on the podcast once before. We reference him occasionally. We affectionately refer to him as 4chan because he is the living embodiment of 4chan and Reddit.
Thug life, bro.
He really, if you don't know James Nease, then do you even Facebook, bro? So, we were going to record this at 6 o'clock. That's when we were going to start. So I said, I better tell him, 5:30 just to be safe. It's now 6:44. We've not heard from James Nease. We can't get a hold of him. Some rando girl just called Miah and said, Nease was here and he wanted me to tell you he's lost in traffic. Like how many mushrooms have you done between 5:30 and now? So we'll see if Nease turns up.
Here's a legitimate question. Would the CIA be able to pull James Nease out of a crowd? Because most recently, they have announced that their facial recognition software was unable to spot the known terrorists who perpetrated the Boston bombings.
Nease has one of those.
The only facial recognition software you need for Nease are these two things right here. You don't need any cameras.
So would they be able to spot him out of a crowd? I'm just curious.
He's got a face like a drugstore painting. It's different every which way you look at it. So he really... And I know it sounds like we're talking Nease up, but you really like... Greg, you didn't know James until we Facebook recommended
I've never met him in person ever.
Right. And what do you think of him online so far?
I love him. He is a troll sensei. Like troll doesn't even do the word justice to him.
He if you go and look at my Facebook page, a couple days ago he did a photo of me with like a Japanese schoolgirl or something. It was bizarre.
Yes.
I did look great though.
You were very geisha.
I know.
God.
So all right,
I hope he makes it on because
I know we can't get a hold of him because we don't. I mean, maybe I'll get on 4chan and go to /B and see if I can get in touch with him.
You'll find things you don't want to find there.
Nope, never again, Creighton. I first tried that one time.
4chan is never to talk about 4chan.
There's an epic 4chan photo that we will never ever talk about in public.
Oh my!
Greg didn't know what
I'd never heard of it.
Greg didn't know what 4chan was.
Yeah.
Which Creighton, can you explain what 4chan is?
It is the abyss. It is the bottomless pit of hell.
And
it is where everything that is good and holy goes to die and is replaced with melancholy and sadness, evil, despair, and
madness.
A lot of gay porn.
That being said, Anonymous, it's our favorite website.
Yeah. And Anonymous.
I do share their absolute disavow of sacred cows. They will like that picture.
Dude, that's the joke.
Oh, it was like the picture from a church directory, and then just desecrated beyond belief.
It's just everything that you're not supposed to insulted. Everything you're not supposed to talk about is talked about, and everything that you don't want to see is seen, and you can't unsee it.
No,
it is the garbage disposal of the internet. It really is.
I showed that to some of my friends, and they were like, "You've been hanging out with libertarians a little bit too
Oh
much."
my god, dude! It is. It is just. It can be hilarious. It can even be like intellectually stimulating if you find the right thread.
Oh yeah.
But 99.9% of it is just stuff that makes you either dumber, sick to your stomach, or just disturbs you. You have to weed through so much crap, so much just crap, and to find the good stuff. And
it's hard to do. But the good stuff's worth it because it's fantastic.
The best description is if you ever been on Reddit. I've heard this described. Reddit is 4chan with a condom. That is, so if you've ever been on Reddit, that's 4chan with a condom. The reason it's so funny is the backstory, because we, like everyone knows, we have a running chat where we plan for these, and
except this week,
yeah. And Spangle had mentioned that a certain individual that we all know was historic in 4chan circles.
Ethan, take a look at that photo.
What's your first?
So Chris Spangle mentioned.
Oh yeah, that just happened.
It's so stupid.
That just happened.
I mean, so Chris Spangle mentions that this person's like historic in 4chan circles, and I don't like to go on there anymore because I've just been disturbed so many times. But I was like, all right, I gotta go find proof of this. And I went on to find proof, and the first picture I found was the one that Ethan's over there laughing about, and I posted it in the chat. and they just apparently everybody died a little bit, and
It was literally.
I shared it on Twitter, and for some odd reason, Spangle was going through my Twitter pictures one day, and he goes, "Oh my God, you shared it!" And I was like, "Yeah, of course."
Share your Twitter. People can just go to your Twitter and they'll.
At GT Lens, it's going to be one of the pictures you'll
No,
go through.
you'll know which one it is.
Yeah, it's going to be the one where you're going to pee your pants, probably crap,
like-
and then have a hernia from laughing so hard.
it's
Hint:
It was just
it
awful.
may not be something you wish to share with your grandmother.
Nope. Or church folk of any kind.
Let's just make it a basic rule. Anything you get off 4chan, you probably don't want to share with your grandmother.
Yes.
So, So we're waiting on Nease. We're just podcasting.
He is coming.
Is that what this is called?
Supposedly, I don't know.
I like what Garrison calls it. We're doing radio.
Did you just come on my podcast?
Say Greg Garrison.
Did you just come on my show and mention Greg Garrison?
Loud yes.
Really?
I have to share.
What is wrong with Greg Garrison?
We
You don't
have
understand. I have a
whole-
history with this man. I mean,
Me too.
not necessarily a personal history, but as a listener, I've been tuning into WIBC for a number of years, since before 2008, and he was a part of my regular workday routine. Now, there's a lot of things that I'll disagree with that man on, but he's a good host.
We have a lot of deprogramming to do. Greg,
All I know is that Greg Garrison spends 15 minutes of every single show talking about daylight savings time and how it confuses the cows. And I am so sick of
What is
hearing
he even famous for?
I swear to God,
He was a
he was the
prosecutor.
prosecutor for OJ.
Mike
no,
Tyson.
Or
Mike
Mike Tyson,
Tyson.
Mike
He's the
Tyson.
one who put Mike Tyson in prison. And
I love his rants about
for
Mike Tyson.
our international listeners, the 4 people in London and the 2 people in Canada.
If you don't know who
Sorry,
Mike Tyson is,
then you
Go watch
all
The Hangover.
you all have this radio talk show host in your city. It's the conservative Rush Limbaugh knockoff, who's not quite as entertaining as Rush Limbaugh, who
Not
just
by a long shot.
gets on there and rants about how Obama, they make their cute little Obama might not be a Christian American jokes.
Yes,
That
they
type
never
of
come
thing.
out and say it. They just consistently allude to it.
They
until
go
you
on.
assume
They
it.
go on Twitchy and they just love everything Michelle Malkin says and
my, Michelle
buy into the
Malkin.
manufactured crises of the day, and
They have
that
set
sort of
limits,
stuff.
and Michelle Malkin is as dark as they like to go.
the only reason I don't like listening to him is because his show never changes.
No.
Right.
Every
No.
single day, it's the same topic: foreign policy. Obama's not a good foreign policy guy. Foreign policy again. Hey, did you know that Obama's not good on foreign policy?
No,
It's
he's
like
talked a
all-
lot about the Pigford settlements, too.
Yeah, that's been the big
I don't even
in
know what
vogue
that
thing
is.
right
Yeah.
now.
How often do they cover on talk radio the abortion doctor thing?
Oh, that's something
Yeah.
we should
I
not
can
talk
count.
about.
Yeah.
Nope, let's not even go there.
That's the hot topic of the day. That's,
Why did you?
That's
Why
the
did you bring that
that's
up?
the real crisis in America.
Why did you bring that up?
All right, so we joked about. Let's get on to some topics. Let's talk about one of these manufactured anti-Christian stories that Todd Starnes. There was a story that kind of caught my eye that seems like it might be legitimate and not just one of these manufactured twitchy stories. It is
Breitbart picked it up.
Breitbart picked it up, but that's sort of the same class of Michelle Malkin just won the Breitbart Award, which is basically an award for internet trolling. You're
Yeah.
just the best Republican troll on the internet this year. So, tell us a little bit about the story, Greg.
I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that it was an Air Force, and I thought he was scheduled to be released, but I could be wrong. He essentially said that he was Christian and was court-martialed for proclaiming like his essentially evangelizing.
Evangelizing, yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the military and he was active duty and evangelizing his fellow officers, and so he was court-martialed for it. And they came out and said in the military code that is unacceptable, that you're not allowed to share your faith in an overt way when you're in the military. So here's the question. Do you agree with that? If you are a Christian or a Muslim in the military, if you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, if you have something that is a big part of you and you want to share it with other people, but the military says no. How do you deal with
It's
that?
not even just
Creighton?
that, though. It's not even just that. I think, from what I understand, they're going to the extent of saying that if you even say what you are, if you show what
Really?
you are,
It's
then
don't ask,
you're-
don't tell for
yeah,
religion.
it's almost like that. It's like, yeah,
No,
that,
get rid of
they
those.
said that it's essentially de facto killed off chaplains as
Yep.
you're not allowed to be chaplains.
They
anymore.
said Josh asked about chaplains, and they're covered under this rule as well. They're not allowed to proselytize either.
Yeah,
and
so
share their
from
faith.
what I understand, the outrage isn't necessarily on the fact that people can't go around and preach. It's that, from what I understand, it's to the point where if you're like wearing a cross necklace, then that is considered over the line, which I think is over the line.
Well, we got to ask ourselves about how we want members of other faiths to display their religious icons. Now, do we want people of the Hindu religion to walk around the military with displays, with like the beard and the hair and the turban, and legitimate religious icons that are a part of their faith? Or, Muslims, are we going to start making prayer allowances? How far do we want this to go? Or do we want to set up a neutral code of ethics that dictates the behavior that one should have when part of an organized fighting force? They're not there to display their religion. They're not there to proselytize or to bring in members of their faith. They're there to fight for their country. And as much as I support their right to have those beliefs and to proselytize openly and freely on U.S. soil, maybe faith is something that we need to keep out of the military in a supported capacity, like chaplains and so forth.
That may be true, like maybe to a supported extent, but I mean, there's a line I think that's drawn whether or not you're just autonomous. You're nothing but a soldier versus you're an you're a human soldier. I mean, there's always been allowances for you to have some sort of self-expression. That's not necessarily saying you're going around and you're breaking up you're breaking up the line. You're stopping in the middle of a fight, or you're wasting time as far as your commander may be concerned. You're wasting time praying 5 times a day or something. That isn't necessarily what they're talking about. Even to the smallest extent of wearing a cross around your neck is now being considered, from what I understand, to be over the line. I think just self-expression to the extent of something like that is okay. But when
you articulate for me the difference? Because of the way I see it, these are both kind of fundamental expressions of their faith. For Christians, they wear the cross as as a symbol of their allegiance to Christ as Lord and as a respect for the sacrifice. Muslims pray to Allah in the direction of Mecca because that is what is commanded in their holy book, in their Quran. So why would it be allowable for Christians to display what is cogent and acceptable within their faith?
Why
not just keep it completely neutral either way?
We already make allowances for them to pray 5 times a day in the military.
Because it's all right. Here's what the military says. A Pentagon spokesman: religious proselytization. Yeah,
That word.
got that. Is not permitted within the Department of Defense. LCDR Nate Christensen said in a written statement. He declined to say if chaplains or service members had been prosecuted for such an offense. Court-martials and non-judicial punishments are decided on a case-by-case basis, and it would be inappropriate to speculate on the outcome in specific cases.
That means no.
Yeah. And then this Todd Starnes article goes on to point out the most rabid atheist in the world is consulting with the Air Force, and Tony Perkins from the Family Research Council is angry.
Well, the point I was trying to make is not necessarily a blanket of neutrality, just a practicality. I mean, if we want to take the logic of keeping people basically from in a sense free expression, I mean, we essentially have to restrict the soldiers from doing anything that is not first signed off on by their superiors.
And that's the point: is are we creating automatons? Are we creating robots that are devoid of any kind of human emotion or any kind of
ways to
religious?
express
Hold on, let me
emotion.
finish. Are you not allowed to talk about your children and your family? I mean, that's having a family is as fundamental to who you are and your life experience as being religious. You're saying that you can't ask another soldier, what faith are you? at all, because it could be considered, where's the line? Are we saying that if you say, well, I'm a Christian, I was saved by Billy Graham, I really think he's the bee's knees, and that could be considered proselytization? I mean, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with a person of Hindu faith wearing a Vishnu necklace? What's wrong with a Christian cross? I mean, we bury soldiers with in the shape. If you go to Arlington Cemetery, you have cross after cross. You have the Star of David. Even United Methodist. When you're buried in the military, you can have the United Methodist flame on your tombstone. My grandpa. One of the few things that I have from my grandfather is his rosary beads and his Army issued Bible. It was a missal because he was Catholic, and the military in World War II gave them rosaries and missals, which is a prayer book, and that was an important part of who he was when he was in the military. When you're going through World War II in such a traumatic place, and especially the experiences that he had, and I won't get into it, he became a strong person of faith in World War II in the Pacific. And it was because of the chaplains. It was because of those things that the military provided. And it made him a better person. It
didn't make him a less effective soldier.
It didn't make him a less effective soldier either.
You want to have a long beard and wear a turban while you fight for the United States because you love your country? Okay.
Who cares?
Who cares? It's the gay marriage argument.
Why are we not allowed to have self-expression in the military? Why is self-expression in the military bad? I mean, it's and I wish Miah were in here because I'd like to get her opinion, which I'm sure we know what it'll be.
Oh yeah,
everything sucks. No religion ever. Gah. So it's fairly accurate.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
That was really.
We don't even need her in here. We can just when we want her opinion, we'll just ask you.
You know what Miah was doing yesterday?
No, I don't.
Totally
wanna know.
off topic.
I don't want to.
I sent you guys the pictures.
We don't need to.
Oh
talk
yes,
about
thank
that.
you for that.
She tried to
Please don't.
extract a molar with pliers.
No way.
Her own?
Complete, yeah, not Emily's. Total nutcase. I love her to death. So
wow.
I think that self-expression in the military...
That digression just killed everything that we were talking about.
The self-expression in the military is incredibly important. You have to hold on to that piece. And I mean, none of us have served in the military except for Miah. But I don't see what the problem with, if you're getting up in people's faces and you're really a blowhard about your faith and you're trying to convert other people and you're telling everybody that they're going to hell... then back it down a bit.
That'd be disorderly conduct, though. So I mean, that's a different violation. I mean,
but
as long
if you believe that these people are going to hell, now mind you, this is in accordance with your faith, and if these people are not saved by Jesus Christ, their Lord and Savior, they are going to burn in hell fire for all of eternity. Now, wouldn't you get stoked up about that and try and get in the face of people? What about the...
No.
not in the United States military.
I mean, that's what I believe, and I haven't told that to you since you've been here.
I mean, for the most
That's a
part,
joke.
I mean, people, especially during World War II and Vietnam, I mean, there were outspoken Christians. I mean, they didn't get up in people's faces and say that you're going to burn in hell if you don't listen to me, and basically tried to...
Oh, no, not every Christian
But
is
I mean,
like that.
but I mean... I think there's a fear of them having faith and expressing it because they're an individual is being kind of, I don't know, molded together with the same idea of like preaching. It's like seeing them express their faith is the same as a preacher trying to convert or a missionary trying to convert or something. I think they're two separate things. I think what's upsetting is that people are attacking the religion specifically, and there's a whole block of people that get upset because it's an attack on, religion. But I think what upsets me more is that it just kind of speaks to this overarching, I don't know, attempt to remove all the sense of individuality from a soldier. And I think that I can understand why a soldier can't, be, a rebel to an extent because they're a soldier and they're in battles and they need to they have to follow orders and listen to their commanders because they're soldiers and that's how people stay alive. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that that we're turning them into Terminators or something.
Right.
I mean,
I think the part of it is that we're losing the connection to the military and our members in the military. In the various generations, so the greatest generation, 24% served in the military. In the following generation, it was 14% served in the baby boomers. In Gen X, it was 6% of people served in the military. Now, despite having the multiple wars that we've had in the millennial age, essentially, which is, everybody in this room, 2% of our generation has served in the military. Now, because we are such an enormous generation, we are able to carry the load because we have such incredibly high numbers of population. So 2% covers most of our need. But that's
warfare's changed too.
But that's why you see a lot of National Guard being called up, and they're older guys. This part of that Gen X, that 6% that are still serving. So I think we are disconnected completely from war, from what it takes to serve in the war. And
honestly, that's a unfortunate side effect of a volunteer army. It's like it's a great advancement to get rid of the draft, as far from a libertarian perspective, and make it be a volunteer army. But one of the side effects is that people just stop caring about war as much as they would if they had the threat of being drafted over their heads.
Well, isn't the idea to keep out of war in general? Do we really need to have a large amount of soldiers?
No, it's the just war thing. Like the greatest generation, they fought to beat Nazism and to stop a horrible human atrocity. The American people were lied to with the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam. So in Korea, I think that generation, the baby boomers, were the ones that really started questioning government. You had Nixon, you had getting lied to. Then you turn around and it's just a gradual distrust of the institutions. And so that's sort of the natural process, is that you have less people serve. And the ones that do, I think, are a little bit more, it's really important to them to serve the military and protect their country. And so because of that, they're a little bit more willing to conform and follow orders, because they understand that they have to protect their brethren, and they're not they weren't conscripted. They're willing to buy in voluntarily, and so you don't have those outliers that go around evangelizing to everyone, because they're there by choice. It's not the Baptist minister that got conscripted and wants to go save everyone he meets in his squadron. It's the guy that grew up and it was important to him to serve his country. And so he's willing to make certain sacrifices in order to do it.
I mean, and there's plenty of examples of very, very religious people, very devout people being war heroes. I mean, look at Sergeant York. I mean, that guy was a pacifist and he ended up saving a whole squadron of people because he could shoot well. And I mean, I guess I'm kind of just opposed to the idea that religion and the military have to be mutually exclusive. You can't have one inside the other. I think there has to be it has to be tempered. I mean, we don't want people going around doing, talking to snakes or something, but,
What?
Well,
why not?
That's an extreme version of what, Pentecostal?
Yeah, the Pentecostals get bit by snakes.
They talk to snakes. Okay, we don't want our soldiers talking to snakes or something in the military, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have to be devoid of any ability to express themselves on a religious level as well.
But they can't talk to snakes. Isn't that a religious expression?
Yeah,
like
I said, I'm not.
Bit by.
If
you get bit by a snake in Pentecostalism.
See, I'm not saying that it has to be a all or nothing kind of thing. I'm saying,
where's the delineation?
I think it comes down to, it's a matter of practicality. I think everything in the military right now, I mean, they don't operate the military law based upon all or nothing. It's all tempered based upon judges and based upon admirals and orders and the military code, and it's tempered basically by either admiralty law or just case history or just whatever rule that the particular uniformed service has. And I think what I'm saying is that those people that make those rules don't need to go down the route of eradicating it from their ranks. They don't maybe have to promote things that would be so impractical as running around in religious gear that is not battle ready. Those kind of things I think are obviously impractical for the purpose of war, but that doesn't I don't think that logically leads to an assumption that we have to eradicate it completely from the military.
And you are the only person that has served in the military, as far as I know. Ethan, you seem like you should be in the military, but you're of that age, but you're here. in my apartment. There was a story that came out about how you're not allowed to really talk about your faith in any way in the military anymore, and they aren't even saying that rule doesn't apply to chaplains, which is sort of like a Marine without a gun. If you're a chaplain that can't talk about faith, what's the point?
What about imams?
What about, who cares? Imams?
Oh, who cares about the imams? We just
Right.
want to have military-funded chaplains. I see how it is.
No. There's many different faiths,
faiths.
chaplains, different kinds.
Yeah.
Now,
There's-
when you're a chaplain, and I was friends with many different chaplains.
Chaplain's an overarching term. So hold on, let me ask you the question. Chaplains are an overarching term for clerics, okay? And clerics in the broad term, not clerics in the Muslim sense. When you were in the military, what role did faith play? Because you were in the military, what years? And so what role did faith play in the lives of most of the people you were around in the military?
I was in from 2005 to 2007, and the chaplains were there, and the churches and everything else you went to weren't there as a religious thing anyway. It was a place where there are people in places where you can feel safe talking about your religion, and they will do what they can to find you someone a little bit more along the lines of your religion, but they're mainly there as overarching therapists. That's what chaplains are. They're there to do the thing where everyone's, everyone has to do these little prayers, before their sports games, and the what's the word I'm looking for?
Got to bash society while she's at it.
No, I'm just saying is that people that they need the comforts of home,
The rituals of
the rituals.
Your
there
norm,
we go.
Your regular
And
life.
that's what chaplains, everybody else are. And when you in the military, the great thing about the military is you're there to kill people. That is the overarching goal. In basic training on the wall, it says we're here to kill people and blow shit up. That's what your goal is in the military, or you're supporting people that kill people. So what's your sexuality, what's your religion, how you feel about the color purple doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, and it should never come up. Now, you should be penalized for something, but then again, the military isn't some free society. It's not part of American freeness. In the military, you got the UCMJ. You're only allowed to have sex in the missionary position. Sodomy is still illegal in the military. They have strict rules on your haircut, how you can wear makeup, how many times you can have your ear pierced, how you dress, how you talk, how you walk, how good a shape you have to be in. Where does it say anywhere? Where does anyone start thinking that the military needs to be this free hippie love place? You kill people. That's what you're there to do.
Yeah, but it's a fundamental part of who you are if you're religious.
Who cares? You're there to kill people. When your religion comes up is how they make your gravestone if you're in Arlington.
And you do sign a contract. I mean, you agree to relinquish part of your rights by signing a contract with the United
You
States
relinquish
military.
almost every single
Yeah, you
right
are their
have.
property. You are their property.
That's the military. So who cares what your religion is? The comfort part, and they help with families, and they help with everything else. That's what the chaplains are for. The chaplains are there for if crap gets bad, to comfort, as I said, like therapists. But they wear different labels, and they come from different faiths for a reason. It's because some people need more than others, especially in times of crisis. And you don't want people downfield in combat freaking out. You want to have people around to comfort them, and maybe some people or some faiths need more comfort that's along lines their own beliefs. And the majority of the country is Christian. If you want more different religions and chaplains, start telling more people to become chaplains.
All right, thanks, Miah. I told you my impression was dead on, wasn't it? Wasn't it, Ethan?
That was a very interesting tirade. One that I agree with.
That's going on Maya's headstone. That was a very interesting tirade. That's a total summation for Maya's life.
She is a martyr of social jihad. But she doesn't get virgins. I don't know what she gets.
Well, I think we need to start wrapping up. I'm not quite sure. So what we do, and we're going to have Miah sit in, because have you heard from Nease at all? Any word from our buddy James?
No, I sent him messages on Facebook Messenger, on his wall. I sent texts, and I guess I called his mother, where he called from before, and that was 5:17. Is now sitting at 7:37. So it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes since we've last heard from Nease, and he was only about 15-20 minutes late, even in bad traffic. So I'm expecting a worst. He either overdosed on something, or he
At
found a dead squirrel on the side of the road and he's having a vigil.
I think he is engaged in an epic Reddit discussion right now that he cannot pull himself away from.
Maybe he decided to go up.
No,
and,
he did
go to
leave.
Florida.
He
Oh, he
left
did?
the house. He was outside of a residence that had internet.
Interesting.
He is probably somewhere in Cleveland right now. There is, and we just didn't get time to have Evan McMahon on. He asked to come on to talk about it. I've seen a ton of comparisons between the basketball player that came out this week and how he's heroic, and I've seen, the then side-by-side comparison with Tebow, and he's an a-hole because he's a proselytizing Christian, and I don't know what it is about that, like, that strain of thinking where that's what you love to share on Facebook that just annoys me. That kind of, like, it's sort of like a shallow thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
But is there something to that, A, and B, do you guys feel like Christians truly are being put upon, or they're becoming a minority that, is somehow being persecuted legally and all that BS?
No.
I think they've done polls and that like 80% of Americans at least say they're Christian.
Well, they're cultural Christians.
And they have
Yeah.
control of one of the major parties in the United States who's
Right.
afraid to abandon them at any election.
Right.
So, no, you're not a minority.
So I can understand why there would be, so much hubbub over something like a guy coming out versus somebody trying to just promote their religion on TV, because one is, to an extent, an oppressed minority politically. The other really isn't. They're particularly not a minority. But
Professional. Thank you. I think the difference between the two, between the basketball player and the and Tim Tebow, is just that there is a vocal minority of people who are anti-Christian or who are atheist or who are anti-religion, period. And that vocal minority is very loud, and it offends people who are religious. And I'm sure that people who are in the LGBT community feel the exact same way about the vocal, I guess, minority of religious people who make it their job to go out and say, you're all terrible people and you're going to hell. I mean, is that fair, Greg? You're giving me the look.
I don't know that I just don't, maybe I don't encounter that very much. Like, I don't encounter the Baptists, that go around. I don't encounter John Hagee. That's not the crowd I hang around with. And
Right.
I know there are some. I mean, it's the same sentiment Creighton and I felt about the gun argument when we won, and it didn't get passed. We were so happy to watch the misery of the liberals. And
Sure.
they feel the same way when a gay basketball player comes out and Tebow's vilified for being a Christian. That just warms their heart.
It just fits into their little world views that it's like when the Boston bomber, there was a brilliant tweet from Russ Duhat from the New York Times, and it was like, oh, I can't wait to find out whose worldview is validated when we find out who this is. Is it going to be the white redneck, or is it going to be the Muslim terrorist?
Yeah.
We're just waiting to validate someone's worldview. And I guess that's the thing about politics that just really wears me out and just drives me crazy. I can't take the fake outrage anymore. It's just manufactured outrage, and it manipulates people who just don't think constructively. I posted on my Facebook wall today about how I think the Washington Redskins should change their name, because Redskins is a racist term. And if you look up the name, the heritage, and the lineage of the word Redskin, and it is the Native American version of the N-word. It's just that Native Americans are a smaller minority than African Americans.
Miah coughed.
Plain and simple, it's a racist term. Now, when people are rooting for the Washington Redskins, it doesn't make them racist. The term is not there with any bad intent. It just still is a racist term. It shouldn't be there. It's not right. Plain and simple. And 12% of people in the United States that were polled agree with me. So,
That's it?
Yeah, and then 11
Good.
just didn't have an apparent... Good?
We are beyond it. We are beyond it.
Okay.
The Native Americans, we screwed them.
Every culture has screwed their native inhabitants.
I mean,
That's
it's
what happened everywhere.
It's the same as the
Ours just happened most
Cleveland
recently.
Wetbacks or the New York Kikes. I mean, it is a racist term. I didn't say the one that I really wanted to say, Josh, which I got yelled at for saying earlier. But it's
Oilers,
not the Oilers. What the? You're a racist a-hole.
He hates Houston people.
You ruined the podcast at a much later minute mark than the others.
I did love how Robert Griffin III, though, came out and said he was a Republican. I've never seen a media disavow themselves of someone like they did him. A black conservative in Washington, D.C.
Who disagrees with me, and he's the quarterback of the team, but that's cool.
It would have been like, Hitler in Tel Aviv. I mean, it was incredible.
So, I can't wait to start rooting for the Indianapolis trannies. That's what I'm going to start rooting for. So, put your gun away. All right, I take it back.
That wasn't a sound effect, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's a very large gun. I hope you're comfortable with guns.
I'm a right winger. Of course, I'm comfortable with guns.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Nice and clicked in there. And
How did you get up? You know what? I blame Evan McMahon. You had to bring up Tebow and the gay basketball player, and that just led us right down the rabbit hole. So let's
to the Redskins?
Yep, let's blame it on Evan.
But anyways, okay, so everybody gets on my Facebook page, and they just give me their right-wing Rush Limbaugh talking points about how political correctness is killing this nation. It's like, look up the history of the word and do your research, and then once you're informed, why don't we have a discussion? It's just such a knee-jerk thing. I don't know.
Ultimately,
let's look at the cultural standards. We can say Redskins on the air because 99% of the time you're not going to be offended by it. We can say honky on the air because it's not offensive. We can say wop on the air because it's not offensive.
Well,
These words have lost their context over time because the communities that are involved have been included in the...
No one's going to say it.
I'm not saying
it.
Okay, the word queer.
Queer, okay.
The community took
Get
it
the
back.
mic. Get the mic.
Get the
We're
mic.
talking about...
You know it better than I do. I don't
Yeah.
know the context around it.
Hold on. What?
The word queer was once a very offensive term. It is no longer an offensive term. The community took their own word back.
You're telling
Queer
me that if
is
I-
not offensive.
that
in the context you use, like if I call you, I can use the word big boned. I can actually use the word smart offensively. I can call you smart in so many different ways. And think of how the redneck trailer trash does it. They can call people smart, and it's offensive.
I'm going to walk up to you. I'm going to walk up to
somebody a redneck but not a red skin.
because one is a their
Redneck
actual
is
skin color.
derogatory.
Redneck is
No,
somebody's sunburn on their neck.
No,
Redneck is something that you choose to be. You choose to be trash and a redneck. You don't
Oh, boy.
choose to be a redskin.
Now we're going to get letters. We're talking about Redskins and saying racial slurs, and then
Dad was born in West Virginia. I ought to know something about what people are.
When people
how
overgeneralize
people
with
are
the
born
term
into
and say if
rednecks.
you're from the South, you're a redneck or a racist, that's overgeneralizing. But when you are really calling somebody a redneck, you're calling it because of their outward appearance, how they choose to look, talk, act. When you call somebody a redskin in an offensive way, you're doing it because that's how they were born.
Aren't people? Don't people call Republicans much of the time as a knee-jerk kind of slight, a ad hominem attack? Oh, those Republican rednecks.
yeah, but
Exactly,
nobody is killing other people for being
No, and that's
conservatives.
the thing. That's the context
Yet,
and how
Todd
you
Starnes,
use the word, the
yet.
tone you're using, how you constructed your sentence and everything else. So any word can be made offensive. But when words are strictly born to be offensive and then only classify people that are born a certain way, that have no choice about what they're being made fun of, as in queer, redskin, all the other wonderful words I don't want to get into because I'll say the wrong ones if I do. And
Maya's career.
Hello, FTC.
See,
See,
this
that's the thing.
First
is that
podcast
words,
ever
and that's the
find.
thing to where they get into racist and everything else. When you make fun of somebody for wearing their pants around their ankles and they're wearing their hat with the big tag on it, and you say something, and it's kind of an overgeneralization of anybody that does that, that's not racist. That's because you're making fun of them because of how they dress. If you make fun of them because of their skin color or because of their born or their race or nationality, that's out of their control, and that's what.
There he is.
Oh, Speak of the devil.
Say hi, Nate. We talking about it the whole time.
Get up, Maya.
Yeah, I was stuck in traffic.
Oh my god. Sit down, James. Sit down. Talk in the microphone, James. You don't look well.
Yeah, like I had to go get my car and pay like $1,200 to get my car from Cicero, Indiana. Then I went on the highway. Then some like dude wrecks his car, and like so the traffic's backed up forever. And then like like I don't have my phone anymore, so I don't have GPS. So it took me like 45 minutes to find his house. I had to find a police officer to escort me here.
Oh my gosh!
And so I'm like, sweet, like yeah, it's over here because people that live here live in these buildings that don't have street signs. Like this doesn't have Kings Hill like on the outside, only when you come in. And like I was outside, I was about to cry, dude. I was like, I hate Greenwood.
You didn't notice all the Rupert bumper stickers outside of my apartment?
I didn't even know like you lived in an apartment. I was looking for a house. It's like,
oh my god.
She's been to my house before.
You've been to Maya's apartment, which is the next building over.
I've been to Maya's like when I was drunk. Like
Okay.
it was.
What are you on right now?
Nothing. I don't have any money. Like.
Yeah, so he sees me outside. I'm walking outside. And he's like, oh, hey, Josh, what's up? I'm like, oh, hey, man, how are you? He's like, does Spangle live around here?
Like, why else would Josh Featherstone be outside of my apartment? Like,
Marco.
I thought he lives here too. Like I'm like, yo, dude, it's like you live in these
They
apartments.
keep all the libertarians in one little apartment
all
complex.
the
in
libertarians
Greenwood.
live in one complex.
Just one building within the complex.
Gina Martinez lived the next building
Yeah.
over like 2 years ago.
So I live in like a cool place called Indianapolis, where like I can find where I go. Then when I come over to the next county, it's like I'm totally in a new area, and I just don't know where I'm going. I'm like,
Right.
I went down to Stop 18. I see some JD by Riders. I went to Starbucks. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going in Greenwood. Like, it's like who lives here?
Suburbia.
So, James, you ran for office. Let's everybody let that sink in just a little
You're kidding.
bit. Yeah.
Do they drug test you when you run for office?
Yeah, if you run as a libertarian, you have to fail the drug test. That's the rule.
I've never failed a drug test in my life except twice. So
What sort of shenanigans?
It was
have
a false positive.
Since then, what sort of shenanigans have you been up to?
what have I been doing? Like
It's okay. He can talk about it on your show later because he's just gonna forget it between here and now.
I blew out my engine in my car, and that was like $1,200. Like I went to take it in. He's like, "So you've been speed racing down the highway?" I'm like, "No, I have not, sir." And he's like, "Look at these spark plugs; they're fucking up." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. I guess I blew out my engine." So then, like, yeah, that's like $1,200. He's like, "Do you have a job?" And like the first thing he asked me was like, "Do you have a job?" And I was like, "No." So I had to get like $1,200, like doing my little PayPal transactions, and finally I got the money to get my car out, and it's just like he's like, "Here it is." Then when I turned it on, like my E light was on. I'm
Right.
like, "Cool, I spent all my money on the car, and I don't have money for gas." I'm like, he's like, I could give you gas, like $50. We got the dang out in the back and the thing. I'm like, okay, I guess, dude. So I had to use a credit card, charge gas, and it's like, man, I'm living so poor right now. Like, I couldn't afford cigarette tubes, so I had to make my own little like cigarette smoking device, and it's like it looks like a crack pipe, you know. And
Have you ever done crack, James?
no.
Have you ever considered a job, son?
What?
A job, where you go to work and then they give you money for being there.
Like people, you're like the fourth person to ask me that. Like walking,
Today?
like going to my mom's house, or going to my grandma's house. Like, are you employed yet? And then they're like, well, you got to get a job. I'm like, no, not really. They're like, you're 25 years old and you can't just sit there and program websites forever. I'm like, yes, I can.
But it doesn't sound like it's paying you money, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, check it out. I got money in my pocket. Like that's a Benjamin. That's
Wow.
I could break that and go to the strip club, do what I want.
Where did you get $100 bill from? I can't even get $100 bill, and I am corporate as hell.
Because you have a bad career. And
Well,
we went over this. Like when you first got that job, and I showed you that a garbage man makes more than what you do as a senior account executive at I'm like picking up trash in like Southside Indianapolis. Like you get paid more. Like a garbage man lives better than you. How
Yeah,
do
but
you
I
feel
get
about
to
that?
go to work and play on Facebook all day. I don't have to pick up dirty diapers.
You can do that as a garbage man. It's like they work for the city. Like there's so much trash on the road. It's like
If there were societal ills that you could cure, James, what sort of things would you take care of if you were the ruler of the world?
If marijuana legalization is not the first thing...
No. James does not do drugs, right, James?
yeah, I've never done drugs in my life. But like, what would I cure?
Yeah, what would you fix if you were in charge of the world?
I guess childhood skinniness. Like fat kids are cool. I mean,
Are you saying that because I'm overweight, James?
no, because like they keep posting those like photos on Facebook with like the starving African children. I'm like, huh. It's like, maybe they should like have a Big Mac or something. It's like, just send them some food, I guess. They get T-shirts. I've seen one wearing like,
Whoever doesn't win the championship gets
like
a T-shirt.
you send them T-shirts all the time. You send them shoes. I've seen like at least 9 pairs of Nike Jordans and like, it's like a Somalian picture. So like, why not send them hamburgers?
Edible clothing.
James, you really are a treat. You know that?
Yeah. I'm going to get drunk after this show because like I've been in traffic all day.
Holy shit, you're sober?
This is kind of like meeting a living legend for me. I'm enjoying this.
Like they're drinking beer. They're like, have these beers. I'm like, no, I'm going to go on whiskey, like $10 a gallon whiskey, and I'm going to see where my night goes from that point on. But
What do you do on a daily basis? What does your life consist of?
I wake up like around 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I roll out of bed, then I check all my emails, and then
Lots of important things in the email?
yeah, like the core people are like, hey, you're still coming to Burning Man, so get your Burning Man shirt and come here and help me build this thing. And then I'm like, cool, I'll come build that up for you. And so I do my core things, and I do my little like website stuff. Then I load up some video games. I play that for about 2 or 3 hours and pretend I'm still doing the website stuff. And
Okay.
then finally I get it done. I send it over to a freelancer. Then I get like money in my little PayPal account. Then I take the money out of my PayPal account. And I go buy like cigarettes and hooch, and then I spend the rest of the night kind of rolling around Indianapolis with hood rats.
Creighton took a 45-minute phone call. Your services are no longer needed.
Who's my boss?
No, it's cool. It's cool. James found it. You're not gonna believe this. He got
So
lost.
I go on a 45-minute phone call with my boss, and I'm all of a sudden the video shows up like an hour and a half late.
Yeah, but you really should have heard the last.
Oh,
20 minutes.
you're gonna love this podcast.
Oh, my God.
This is gold.
So tell us about the nightlife in Indianapolis. What sort of shenanigans are taking place? I go to bed every night at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Wake up 7 o'clock, go to work. What am I missing?
Like when you go over there, like 9 o'clock on 66th and College, it's like a Broad Ripple Park, right?
Right.
They have like free food nights there sometimes, so it's like a bunch of like.
Are these provided by churches?
No, these are a bunch of hippies.
Oh, okay.
They sit there and they dread each other's heads, and there's like fire hooping and stuff. Then
Is this the dog park, or is this a little bit further north of that?
it's a little bit north of it. Like,
Oh, okay.
You know what's funny is like we're mocking Nease, but that's just exactly how Lenz lives his life too.
Oh no,
He's just in a golf shirt and a golf hat.
I drink, but that's about it.
Sorry, so you go to the Burning Hoop over at the dog park.
Yeah, no, not the dog park. The dog park's over there. Like a couple like streets north is it's like a park, and all the children leave about 6 o'clock, and that's when like all the hood rats come in.
What is a hood rat?
A hood rat is people that are like they're just hanging the hood, I guess.
Okay. Are these men and women? And
yes,
or do
yes.
we not label them? Sorry, thank you, Miah.
No, like they're men and women. They bring like
Into the mic, buddy.
They bring drums. There's like drum circles there, I guess.
Right.
And I keep thinking every time I go there for free food night because I scope some like vegan stuff, and I'm like just eating it. Then like you can smell marijuana all over the place. I'm like, when's the police gonna come? You know what I
Right.
mean? But the police just never.
Is that
show
your
up.
first thought? You smell marijuana, and your first thought is the police are going to show up?
It's a park. Of course they're going to show up. They're going to be like, there's a bunch of hippies smoking pot and beating drums in my park. But
Is that what that is? Because I live in Broderville. I always wondered what that was.
Yeah, would you ever go by on 66th
I drive by,
Street?
but I've been too scared to stop.
Free food night, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
hippies love me.
There's free food. Sometimes there's a guy named Miah, not this Miah, that rolls through, and he lives out of his truck, and he's got some dogs. Like he travels like around like Indianapolis in his truck and with his dogs, I guess, and he has like tarps and wood shackled up in the back. So he sleeps in the park sometimes. So he'll roll out and he'll tell you like all the cool times of Indianapolis hardcore and like the hardcore music scene. So I'll hang with him for a bit, but I don't want to hang too much because like he hasn't showered in like a year, 2 years.
Whoa.
So it's kind of like, you know, a little bit crusty. But I rolled through there once, and there's a dude named Dave who
Sorry, that just got me. I don't know.
You know what this reminds me of?
Go into the mic, Creighton.
Do you ever watch
Hold on.
the Ricky Gervais show?
Yeah,
He's the bald guy.
he's Carl Pilkington. Oh, he is my Carl Pilkington. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
But no, Dave Wilford, who's at
Into
the
the
park, he makes the free food. You know what I mean? So he makes all this vegan gumbo and whatnot. Like first thing I did when I sat down, he's like, "Aren't you the dude who ran for office?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I didn't vote for you." He's like, "I'm a libertarian, but you're fucking nuts, man." And I was like, "All right, man." Then he sells jewelry. Like he makes his own like tourmaline jewelry, and he sells it, and that's what he does for a living.
Shocking.
He's like, I'm trying to get off the internet a lot more, and it's working for me. And I'm like, I don't know how you can live without the internet.
What is your history with 4chan? Excuse me, we're trying to do a podcast over here. Could you please?
Did you censor yourself?
Yes, we don't curse on this show. We're gonna beep you.
The only time he doesn't is when Gina compliments the size of his board. That's the only time he
That
doesn't.
was excellent.
All right.
All right. What did I ask him?
You asked him about your history with 4chan.
Your history with 4chan. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with the internet. Tell us about the love story. When did it begin for you?
When I was 13 years old,
Into the mic.
When I was 13 years old, my dad bought me a compact Presario, which is like this cool, like, you know, awesome computer that I played video games on, and I had net zero for internet. It was like free internet, so it was like cool, man. I got this internet, and this is back when like I used like MSN, Hotmail, I guess, and just used all these like old websites, and we stumbled upon 4chan because there was like a bunch of like anime pictures, and it was like, cool, dude, anime, like, you know, this will totally get me chicks, and it never did. So you know, been posting on there for a while, and eventually we started different chans. We had 7chan, we had 420chan, we have Trap-chan. I moderated Trap-chan once, and I'll never do it again.
Why?
Because like Maya's website's pretty okay, but
Right.
Trap-
It's decent.
Trap-chan's like a lot of nudity,
Right.
and like
That's all of 4chan though.
yeah, but it's like check out my post-op vagina, and like, you know, right here like lifts it up, and I'm like. And
Hey,
like I'm drunk, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna show you a picture.
Okay.
I want to see if this picture. What is your reaction to this picture? All right, right here.
Probably seen it a million times.
He probably made it.
I'm please my face.
Oh, there goes our rating.
I mean, she's hot.
She's a Brad Ripple 3.
Oh.
No, not a broad
I mean,
three.
does that shock you? I mean, it took Josh when I texted it to him. It took him 10 minutes to recover.
The reason it's so funny is because
Creighton's the worst broadcaster ever.
he had mentioned you as being a mod of 4chan, and I was like, and he said you're a legend on 4chan, so I went to 4chan to find proof. And
Pixar
I don't
didn't happen.
I don't like to go to 4chan anymore. It's not my favorite site. But I went, and the first picture that showed up was that, and I posted it in the chat, and apparently now it's legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had to apologize to Joe Ruiz's wife earlier. So, all right, so you're one of the original guys on 4chan. Like, when did you start on 4chan? Like, years ago?
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was like early 2000s. Like before that, there was a lot of like. There was
It started in
Postpone.net.
04.
Yeah. Well, listen, 04, early 2000s, that's all the
No,
same.
no, I'm saying like that. You probably one of the very first ones. 'Cause
Right,
it
I
only
know.
opened in 04.
Yeah, I'm what you call an old fag. Like, you know, like the terminology they'd use.
Oh, is that what that's the...
Yeah, like.
Whatever you are with
I'm the old dude that's like, I remember when this website used to be about the raids and not about the stupid memes, you know? And like we used to do raids. Like there used to be like a kids game called Habbo Hotel, where kids could like make little like avatars and kind of like have pool parties and stuff like that, and or just like, this is a cool game, it'd be great if we ruined it, you know. So we rolled a bunch of characters, like, you know, like African American characters with afros, like by the thousands, you know. And we go block pools, you know, like the pools, so people couldn't get in and out and go swimming, and we'd make like, you know, giant swastikas and whatever, just troll out of it, dude. And you know, and the joke from it became pools closed due to AIDS, because all these kids were like, you know, 12-year-old kids be like, I want to get in the pool. We're like, you can't, because it's closed due to AIDS. And you know, it was so bad that they actually removed like the afro from the game. Like, we can't have afros anymore. And we tried to sue the game company for saying it was like, you know, discrimination. Like, you can't hate on a brother. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Around that time, they also started like 420 Chan, which was like, you know, drug user paradise. So
Really?
Like, they have like different like boards for drugs, like, you know, like welcome to the hallucinogen board, or like barbiturates. They're great, you know. So it's like, let's talk about that. Then came, you know, like 7chan, like, you know, 2chan, then there were eventually Trap-chan. Then on Trap-chan, like, I hooked up with like this, what was it, like some girl in like Florida, Lisa or something, who ran the board. She's like, you seem like a pretty cool dude, you should definitely like, moderate the boards. So I ended up like, you know, moderating these like channels, and like people would send me like awful pictures, like pictures that I would never show people ever again.
Things that James Nease,
And-
if James Nease can never ever show these to anyone, I mean, you really don't. I don't want to be mean, but it seems like you don't have much of a filter. Like, it seems like you'd see that hit your brain, and you'd go, okay, move that over here. Okay, hit my brain, move that over here. Like, it doesn't seem like you'd be affected by very many things. You know what I mean? So, how horrifying! I think Creighton's right. Is the bowels of the internet when it evokes an emotion from James Nease.
I would log on from 8 o'clock at night to clean up some of the threads where people were posting like, you know, rage threads and whatnot. So I'll go in there to clean those up, and like I'm in the IRC channel for like the entire like Chan network, and people are like, "Hey, dude, click on this link," and it's just like the horror that you would never see. I've seen so many penises, breasts, vaginas that I'm just like, I was
Desensitized.
yeah.
Stuff will slip through, man. I mean, just some stuff that shakes you to your core.
I met people that were into like hardcore body modification, and there was a woman who wanted to be like a human cow, so she had like breast implants underneath her breasts, so she had like 4, you know, 2 sets of tits,
I actually
guess.
would kind of like to see this.
Oh my!
And like she was on webcam on Trap-chan. She's like, you know, when you're changing genders, that's too easy. When you're changing species, that's when you're.
Wow.
She has dermal implants, you know, and just a bunch of stuff. She has tattoos where she tattooed like spots.
Were you a part of that young girl that they terrorized her house? Like her dad got on. It was on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, what was
Are
her
you saying
name?
you done goofed?
Jesse Slaughter.
Because she done goofed.
Were you part of it?
What?
Were you part of it?
Everybody was part.
Oh, that's fantastic!
She her life. I can tell you her life story. When she first started on, she was on like a free webcam thing, and she would troll and she'd get attention on 4chan. And then people were like, you know, screw it. This girl's like a slut, I guess. You know, so we should just troll her.
She was like 14. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
13.
No,
probably.
let me tell you her life story. Like, I watched this all go down. Eventually, her dad.
James can't figure out how to find an apartment, but let me tell you Jesse Slaughter's life story.
Eventually, like, you know, she ended up going to like a children's home because of all the crazy stuff that went down. Like, her dad and like now, like she's got like 2 kids or whatever, and like I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow,
No, she's trans.
she does a lot.
Transgender.
We ruined her life. It's like that's.
Yep. Yeah, you did. Not really, but
Did I troll Jesse? No. Did I watch it? Yeah. Did I laugh? Of course. You know, it's like I'm watching these.
you egged it on
Were you
from.
part of the hack attack on Scientology?
No, I was on Battletoads though, calling GameStop asking for Battletoads.
These are the great battles that James Nease has fought in his life. I called Blockbuster for Battletoads.
No, like you call GameStop, you'd ask for Battletoads. Eventually, they get tired of it, so you got to be clever. Do you have combat frogs? You know, and you just, and you know, especially did stuff like that, and you know. As I think about how awesome these raids were, I was just like, some of them were funny, like, you know, like when you trolled Scientology, when you trolled GameStop. Some of them were like, oh man, dude, you're ruining this person's life. But then it's like, there's always the thing like, are they asking for it? That's always what we ask for. Like, are you asking for it? Like when you post something on the website, you know, it's like, do you really want to post that? You know, it's almost like a check. You have to kind of regulate.
You won't
yourself.
violate the non-aggression principle, but once they violate yours, it's over. Their life's ended. And then you're a mutualist, right? I heard that. Would you kind of give me a brief rundown real quick, like the minute pitch of mutualism?
It's free market anti-capitalism.
Okay.
That's about all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Like James thinks that it's going to take a lot of work to get here, but James thinks that you get rid of all government force. Okay, so there's no government force, and then everyone lives in communes with each other.
Okay.
Where property rights do not exist. You got to be on the mic, so go grab his mic.
Gotta be on the mic, man.
Yeah.
Spit a beat. Spit a phrase.
Episode 43, and Mike's and Creighton's not learned mic technique.
From what I understand, it looks as property as equally oppressive as the government, right?
I mean, it could be mostly just landlordism, like
rentiers.
Yeah,
gotcha.
What's his name? You mentioned his name last
Proudhon.
Proudhon.
Not just him. The other guy, the one that specifically hates when people try and buy land.
James, you guys are never going to believe this. James graduated from college, philosophy major.
No way.
Are you an IUPUI philosophy major?
I'm a University of Indianapolis philosophy major.
Oh,
represent.
We got a Greyhound to the right of me.
Right.
Greyhound. I didn't buy into the whole Greyhound. I kind of rolled into night classes and kind of like, you know, I would go do my classes. Sometimes I'd skip out on classes, go to the bar, like the Mexican bar down the way, and just come back to class a little bit later.
Was that the name of the bar, or?
No, I don't know the name. It's just the Mexican bar. It was like it was all in Spanish and stuff.
That one with those people.
You walk in. So were you working on a master's? What was or just graduating?
I still do classes.
Okay.
So eventually I'm going to get that doctorate, and then I could be unemployed, but I have a title. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah. You know
Dr.
what?
James Nease.
You know what?
Doctor unemployment.
You know what my
Dr.
favorite?
Bum.
Oh my god.
You know what my favorite question to ask philosophy majors? Can I get fries with that?
Waka waka.
Thank you.
You majored in history.
You actually. I got a job.
Wikipedia replaced the need for his degree.
You once said something to me that actually made a pretty. It was impactful. You enlightened me once, James Nease. You said that libertarians should talk. It's not that they should talk less about liberty, but they should talk about equality and justice in the same level as they talk about liberty.
Yeah, because I see a lot of posts. It's like, man, dude, where's my freedom at? I'm like, well, freedom's cool, but like, if I were a gay black woman, do I have the same freedom as the rich white man? You know, sort of situation. Like, do I have the same freedom to do what I want to do as someone that has more wealth than me, or do I have some same thing to do with people that have more prestige than me? I don't think that's the case. A lot of people are disadvantaged, like the homeless are disadvantaged, the minority groups are disadvantaged, women are disadvantaged to some extent. So I think when you focus on equality and justice and you kind of level it out a bit, then everybody can have the same opportunity. Obviously, if I grew up in the heart of Shadeland, I don't have the same opportunity if I grew up in Carmel.
And you've said to me that if we're going to, you would almost take, well, a lot of libertarians will take Republican policies and kind of force libertarianism onto it and want to focus on the economic solutions first. You say, listen, as we're so slowly moving towards zero government, we should invest in social programs. We should invest in the things that enrich the poor amongst us, as opposed to corporate welfare. I mean, talk about some of that, some of your emphasis on the social programs and how that applies to equality and justice and liberty.
It's based off like a Norwegian model where the
I'm
money's.
out. I'm out. No, I'm just kidding.
Too close to Canada.
Most of the tax money, like they use a system like sovereign wealth funds, which they get from their oil reserves, because most of Norway is powered through geothermic energy or through like solar energy or wind energy. So most of their energy needs are met. So the oil they get is usually exported. The taxes they get off the export, they end up spending on social programs like healthcare and school systems and prisons that aren't actually like hardcore. I got to be like a badass in here, but
Not pound me in federal prisons is what you're talking about.
So they're more like rehabilitative. So the money's spent on that, and you spend very little on like military and very little on defense.
They're also relatively low population-wise, as far as the amount of wealth that they generate from oil, as compared to something as large as the United States, which helps them, especially if they're not spending a lot of it on military.
And they're more homogenous. Their population
Yeah.
is.
But I don't think population matters, but the amount of money that each country has matters too. If we spent like half of what we spent on the military towards free education, towards better schools, there'd probably be like a greater graduation rate.
Hold on, say that again.
Empirically, that's been disproven. I mean, skyrocketing spending on all forms of school on every level.
Since the Great Society with Johnson.
I mean, it's just been, the line is ridiculous. It's almost parabolic. It's so
But
steep.
here's my question.
And it's just test scores and graduation rates have either not changed or gone down.
Here's my question for you, James. I mean, how can you call yourself a libertarian and say that you want to pump money into free education for kids?
Because they tax you for the money anyway, right? Like, why don't you spend it for something like awesome instead of like something silly? I mean, we spend. Do we got cricket stadiums now? Is that what we're spending money on?
Our mayor here in Indianapolis is going to spend $6 million on cricket stadium.
In defense of Liberty fags,
Are
I'd
they
say
the old fags or the new fags?
it's Liberty fags. But in defense of Liberty fags, I think that the main argument conservative libertarians, right libertarians, whatever, they make as far as the equality argument is that equality is the daughter of liberty. That
Liberty
comes first and equality naturally results.
Is the daughter hot?
Depends on how much you like equality, I guess. But I think that's the argument that is often made. So when you say that we already take the taxes out, they would say, well, stop taking the taxes out. Let them do the things they want with their money. That doesn't necessarily say that under a society that doesn't have social programs from a central authority or a collective authority in the sense of whether it's the state or whatever. If you're talking about some anarchist society, a commune or something, they would just argue that these same forces can be met by private actors. I mean, if there's one thing that right libertarians are consistent on, it's being stubbornly in favor of everything being private, privatize everything. So I think that's the main argument that they would make as far as equality. It's not that they don't care about it; it's just they would see it as logically being a result of more freedom and not something that will come naturally after liberty. But if you tried to force it, it would just end up
stuck in equality.
It would just be inequality, systemic inequality.
All right, final word for James Nease, and then we're going to wrap up.
All right. Well, I guess if you want to go by like, well, if I free everybody, then maybe it'll come to pass. That's not usually the case, at least historically. I mean, you go back, like I watched a lot of those like Bible shows on like History Channel. I watched a lot of those Viking shows on History Channel. Like a lot of
where President Obama plays Satan.
I guess.
One frame. Right?
Yeah.
Even when you like decapitate the power source, it has to do with like slave mentality. As long as there's an authoritative figure in the situation, you're always going to submit to it. Like, well, who's going to be the authority here to submit to it? And every time there's like some sort of slave mentality, it shows some sort of humility. And when you don't have a lot of people that want to be masters, you have a lot of people that want to be slaves, then you don't have a great issue where anything you want to do that your intended consequence would be, it tends to go the opposite way. At least from a left libertarian perspective, I would say like it'd be a much more, productive manner to say like we should do things that kind of equalize the lesser parts of the population, kind of like equalize what the disparity is between, someone that's like an African American in the ghetto as opposed to like a rich white man in Carmel or wherever you want to go, and not essentially redistribute the wealth, but rather do stuff that's not to their antithesis, such as, I think I said during the election cycle, it's odd, when you put day spas and, nice restaurants in, like, nice parts of town, and they just put liquor stores in the, bad parts of town. They don't fix the roads. And that's just where the money goes. Like, the money tends to...
Well, those are different monies.
What is it?
Those are different monies. Road construction and private businesses are different
no.
monies.
When you have nice businesses, the money for the roads are going to go where the nice businesses are. If it's just
it's just demand. They're a higher
if
tax base.
If it's a liquor store and a Planned Parenthood, they're not going to put new roads or fix the sidewalks. It's like, cool. It's just a bunch of drunks and knocked up teenagers.
It's just that's just the nature of, I guess, democracy. I guess,
And that depends on the engagement of the community. How much do they really they can go get funds from the federal government for community reurbanization?
They tried. One example is down toward Fountain Square. We had the Coke plant.
Yeah.
And like when I went to different meetings for these Coke plant, they had different like independent volunteers that would actually come through, and they were trying to get grants to fix the Coke plant. But it's like you have an entire neighborhood, the Southeast Neighborhood Association and the surrounding neighborhood association that would come to these meetings, try to get these grants. How do you fix it up? Essentially trying to fight against what the city wanted to do with the Coke plant. So even though you can get grants and you try your best to fix it up, like whatever entity that wants to do something with the Coke plant's obviously going to win. Like the Ball State issue with the print shop, it's like the print shop is, well, what do I do? And eventually the eminent domain that, and that's an inequality like I speak about.
Yeah, it's influence more so than community engagement, I guess. You got if the community comes together, they still don't get the funds as long as someone has the ear of the mayor.
Well, I mean, and also there's the argument to be made of, that, some of the reason that low-income neighborhoods are, they have the liquor stores rather than the day spas is because they are a low-income neighborhood. One of the reasons
Are you saying poor people like to drink?
No, I'm saying that when
not as much as rich people.
That rent in Carmel costs a lot more than rent on South Meridian Street, and a lot of the reasons that people who go down to live on South Meridian Street is because they can afford to live there. And one of the reasons they can afford to live there is that the value of the property isn't very high. And it may be an empirical, demographic statement to say that poor people drink more, but yeah, poor people do drink more. I mean, that's just a demographic statement. And I mean, there's a number of issues that come into why is there so much inequality in our society, or relatively. I wouldn't say there's so much because I think mobility is enormous in America.
There's in the Libertarian Left group on Facebook, we posted it was like a 50-page document that was done by like a university in Toronto that was judging like zoning laws based in the United States. And
McGill.
What was zoned in like African communities, which or poor Irish communities, or what was zoned here was a lot different. What was zoned up in Anglo-Saxon communities. So when you looked at what was zoned, and they zoned like nice pools in like this community, and then they zoned essentially like dirty factories in these communities. And they're like, well, that's just demand. Like all these Irish immigrants are definitely working in the factory, so we'll zone the factory next to the Irish community. Or these wealthy Anglo-Saxons definitely like polos. We'll put polo matches here up in this community. And that was done for like 50, 60, 70 years, and that still has a resounding effect today. Like all these communities are still run like that. You're going to build like these McDonald's here because this is where essentially like the low income people are, and they'll get jobs here. And we still do that, not as kindly racist as it used to be, where it's like, okay, African community, put some factories, put some like liquor stores here, but we still do that in kind of a like subconscious way where we just put these I guess vices in like parts of cities where probably shouldn't be putting vices in the first place.
I would agree, but I also at the same time I think there's just a better argument for stopping to try and centrally city plan. Stop trying to zone a culture.
Order. Yeah.
I just think it's just another argument to allow, spontaneous order. Stop trying to do it from City Hall and allow people to
build what they want.
I mean, I don't think zoning laws are necessary. I mean, I'm crazy, I guess, but I don't really like the ideas of zoning laws. But at the same time, I mean, there's a number of, I mean, you could just easily say that, the minute that, like I said, the minute they start putting spas in, if everybody in the low-income neighborhoods wanted spas, and let's say they start putting spas in the low-income neighborhoods, property value goes up and they're out of a house. I mean, there are so many different things that affect the way that we have it set up. And I would say that something that I think we could all agree on that need to be changed are the ordinances and the laws that create such a system. that just emanate from City Hall, and a lot of it has to do with the electorate. I mean, low-income neighborhoods, by and large, empirically vote Democratic, and they're a safe base. So not much effect is given to them because they're just going to vote Democratic. They'd rather give money to the middle-of-the-road, undecided place that's a little bit more higher income, because those are the people they need to win elections. And that's a flaw of... It's a flaw of democracy. I mean,
whose vote can you buy?
It's just incentives. It's just the nature of incentives.
All right, well, we need to wrap up. So let's, Greg and Creighton both said, we don't want to have an hour and a half long podcast. And then you two talked.
Well, Nease showed up.
I know.
I couldn't wait to meet him.
Oh, isn't he a treat?
I tell you what, man.
Is he everything we said
I
he
want
was?
him. I want to do like a real one, the full time with Nease. I love hearing about this stuff because I even heard Mutualists, and we don't have time for discussion, but they believe in the labor theory of value, and that is just mind blowing to me.
But that's in an Adam Smith book.
I know. No, I know.
Nease shows up, talks about 4chan, blows your mind. You think, what a weirdo, and then he goes on and talks about philosophy and blows your mind. What did you think? What did you think of him?
Nease is the most interesting stoner to ever meander into the same general area.
Now, you heard him. He does not do drugs. All right.
They do him.
All right, so... I am drugs. All right, Ethan, what we do is at the end of the show, you get a chance to sound off for just a minute or two about something we missed, something you want to talk about, plug, something in the future to be watching about.
Something in the future to be watching about. I would watch the gun control legislation. We are slowly, incrementally losing the battle. Yes, we had a small victory, and yes, it is important to celebrate victories where we can, but we need to look at the overall overarching context, and slowly but steadily, these battles are being lost, if only at the edges. And eventually, it's going to pierce right through to the heart.
All right, Greg?
I think we're something to watch out for in the next 2 weeks with the debt ceiling coming up, the debt ceiling hike. The Republicans are trying to hike tax reform to the agreeing to raise the debt ceiling. I think President Obama's on board with a few different things, so watch for that. I think it's finally going to happen.
No. This is Creighton.
The best studio audience we've ever had.
I know. It's so nice having a studio audience. We have... And we're kind of Facebook messaging back and forth, and Miah is talking crap about our podcast. So I told her things that I can't repeat on air. Creighton, anything you'd like to plug? Anything coming up in y'all land? Into the mic, buddy.
I mean, semester's over to a large extent, so not a ton's going on at IUPUI at least. I mean, it's kind of just getting geared up for summer.
Are you all right?
Yeah,
You'll make it.
I think I have 4 episodes left, I think, and then I have to go, and then I'm Skype only. So
Skype only.
But yeah, I mean, not a ton. But Man of Steel trailers. Still looking at Iron Man 3 tomorrow.
Tonight at midnight.
Tonight at midnight.
Technically still
that's
tomorrow.
what I'm hearing.
Oh well, it's Iron Man.
Nease,
I'm ready for Avengers 2.
Nease, regale us with a tale.
Regale you with a tale? Like May Day is coming up, right? You guys want to get down on May Day?
What is that?
May Day.
Soundgarden gonna be
Communists.
there? Is Soundgarden going to be there?
It's like a workers' rights days, but like everybody goes out and protests different things. So like whatever you want
totally
to
different May Day.
I don't have any interest in
Not
that.
the concert.
I don't have any
Talk about the concert.
Yeah, it's
Creighton, he's not
Creighton's
talking
like,
about...
yeah, man, Nickelback.
Soundgarden, man.
Nease, do
It's
you want to
original
apologize
lineup,
to
too.
Jesse Slaughter since you've got your chance right now?
You want to apologize to Jesse Slaughter? You had it coming, bro. It's like
You know what, though? You were even nice and called her bro. So you're good. You're good.
I want to plug nearlytotalnonsense.com. What is nearlytotalnonsense.com? Well, it is a website that I have not finished building, but it will be the future home of Chris Galt's new podcast. We're not letting him back on this show. He is going to come on the podcast here probably in the next 3 to 5 weeks.
It's Alex Jones on steroids.
And so it's not going to be anything to do with conspiracy. It was so funny when I asked Chris Galt what his... I can't do the show if you two are talking at the same time.
You'll laugh when we tell you later.
All right. So when I asked Chris Galt, what is your show going to be about? And he goes, it's like Reddit for your ears. And I lost it. It's Chris and Chris Peffers and Chris Galt. So nearlytotalnonsense.com. Here within the next week, we're going to have the first show posted, and it's probably going to be an abomination, but it'll hopefully get better. Just like this show, it gets better and better every single week.
We hit a new depth today.
Abominations when Miah invited me over to his house and he was drunk. And like, let's just film this stuff drunk. And it's like...
I brought my my guest on here for a political podcast, and I feel like most of the time all we talked about was 4chan, and
we really didn't try this week.
And I blame Spangle. It's all Spangle.
We just didn't try, man.
We're here in the next couple weeks. We're going to be launching a new website for the advocates at theadvocates.org.
We didn't even talk about Syria, did we?
No, we didn't even get to it. We were so busy talking about Jesse Slaughter. And so I've been so knee-deep in the new website and work and a bunch of other extracurriculars that I didn't even pay attention to the chat. We didn't talk about issues.
I had finals.
Yeah, finals. It just has been a busy week. So we really...
there wasn't a ton
I had my
of
first
news.
wedding.
Having the first wedding.
There wasn't a ton of news either.
My wife, our anniversary. Sweetie, I know you're not going to listen to this. I wanted to say happy anniversary. It is our second and final year of marriage. So I wanted to say thank you for marrying me, and good luck on all your future endeavors. So, all right. It's a joke. It's a joke. All the ladies in the room gave me the stink eye.
Is it though? Tune in next week.
Is it though? It's a cliffhanger. All right, everybody. We'll see you later. Thank you for listening to this. We truly apologize that you had to sit through this.
We'll do better next time.
Music for We Are Libertarians is provided by Hoosier musician Brian Keith Wallen. Please check out his website, briankeithwallen.com. The song is Bad Spell. This podcast is produced by What is a Hoosier Productions.